Hello, and welcome to another episode of Dragon's Breath, where my windbag opinion casually gets flopped onto YouTube, because I have no idea how to use any of the iPhone infrastructure. So it's not a podcast, it's a tubecast. I'm currently relaunching a whole bunch of different stuff and a brand. I'm not sponsored, whatever. Like and subscribe, hit notification, Twitter button, something or others. Viewing algorithms. I'd love to be a part of yours, but today I'm going to be talking about loot boxes and how they were once a felony. And see, you're supposed to make videos and content on the internet that's supposed to stand aspects of the passage of time. So I'm going to say they were felonies because it is September 19th, 2022, and as of November 8th, they're going to be legal. To explain all of this, I got to go back in time and explain a whole bunch of different things. But anyhow, the state of the too long didn't read is the state of California has Prop 27 and Prop 26 on the ballot. Prop 27 allows online and mobile sports wagering outside tribal lands, initiative, constitutional amendment, blah, 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 statute. Basically, it allows businesses and other organizations and Indian tribes and It's the large transnational corporation that sprung up out of Las Vegas that owns the MGM Corporation, as well as it's something a lot of people don't actually know. If you go to Vegas, there's some 19 giant hotels with 100-acre campuses. They're not really 100-acre, but you understand what I'm saying. Multi-football field sized hotel campuses, big old giant resorts. Performance venues, this, that, and the other. Not a whole lot of people know. During a massive structural rivalry in Vegas in the 1950s, 60s, and 70s, they all bought each other out. All of those businesses all run under 7 corporations, and those corporations all have umbrella holding systems. And so there's only 4 names that actually own all those hotels. So anyhow, there's massive bankrolling going on in California for these 2 bills because either of them pass. It's a step forward towards getting aspects of gambling legalized federally. Because how the federal law here in the United States works is everything created in D.C. is actually superseded by those in capital cities. No, what's the actual proper word for the proper branch of what I'm thinking of? I'm glossing over right now. But the states override the federal government. And how to explain this properly? It's really, really impressive. So when the internet first started, there was a guideline that basically states any purchase on the internet has to be a 1-to-1 value. And there's nothing that has been passed by any states that changes that. There was 45 different guidelines to how the internet's supposed to function. There's communications bureaus and state regulatory agencies and a bunch of other stuff to run things on the internet now because of all the different financial systems and all the other different bases of trade that grew from the internet. But, see, how do I continue with parts of this? Okay, so, dial-up internet. Dial-up internet was a service that phone providers could opt into. Dial-up internet was not anything regulated by anyone in any way, shape, or form. America Online was a disk, and that disk was an installation into your computer. That computer had to have, I want my mind's like Windows 93, but the one that I actually know was named was Windows 95. But there was a Windows before Windows 95. That version of the computer had to have a CD disc that you insert into a CD drive for some of those of you who were born after the creation of USB drives and portable hard drive systems, this, that, and the other. There were CDs that stored data, not music. And we made Laserdisc. And it was more fucking efficient than ever caught on. But it's a whole different topic. So before that, there was DOS. And for some of you, I'm about to make you feel really fucking old. Because I'm going to explain this, and I'm going to explain DOS. Computers used to be just archival hard drives, and so you'd have a screen and it would flash an open text bar, and you'd type in command prop something something / command prop enter. And then it would give you a readout of what the files were and what you could access. And then you type in command prompts, enter / enter command prompt, numerical value, tag, tag, tag. And it'd open up a file, and the entirety of the Word document would list out in front of you. And then you could type /edit. And I'm using this type of language because I played a lot of World of Warcraft, and there's certain aspects of coding and programming that you can just explain to somebody by just using / because there's social media programs and emote systems and a bunch of different things that existed in the early era of gaming in the early 2000s. But basically, early computers were command prompts, Word documents, filing systems. Over time, code became more diverse, and the first advents of the internet were phone companies allowing code services. And so you'd type in, America Online, or you wouldn't type in America Online, and you just pay for the service. And so the phone would connect to the phone line. You'd hear the old classic Terminator 2, I believe it was Terminator 2, kicks out of the veterinary office, steals a car, opens up a cell phone, and a little gyro spins inside of his mouth, and it starts imitating the internet signals, and all of a sudden he clicks the speakerphone, and the internet tone starts coming back out of the cell phone, and it suddenly connects, and it starts giving the actual internet code. And for some of you who do or do not know, the internet code way back when on our telephone lines was 6 to 7 different megahertz of different layers of code, and one was Morse, another one was a signal of tone differentials. And so, like, if you were a normal person listening to it, you could hear Morse as well as a wavelength code going back and forth and a couple other things all at once. Now that I'm an adult at the age of 32, I can actually explain that. As a child, I never understood what any of that actually was. So, America Online got really, really big. And I'm not sure if it was before America Online or while America Online was developing, but the federal government realized, hey, we could have more systems. We could have all of our government employees between all of these different pieces of infrastructure all across the nation connected. I don't know if it's against the law to explain any of what I'm about to say, but there is an internet ley line here in the continental United States. It runs from Washington State, it goes down to Oregon, into California, about halfway into California before turning eastward. I'd like to say it goes a little bit near Vegas, comes across into the center of the United States and starts heading up northward around the Oklahoma Panhandle, and then does a very, very lazy loop, an arc over to the Great Lakes, and then comes down not through Florida, but along that edge of the landmass by the eastern coast and down into Mexico. If you accidentally hack that ley line, cut into that ley line, damage that signal in any way, shape, or form, it is an automatic $7 million per 10 minutes. No judge can give you leniency, any way, shape, or form. There's a lot of things put into place to make sure dumbasses don't accidentally do so. But, just as a casual explanation of all of this, that ley line exists. The U.S. government helped fund it. I'm pretty sure multiple nations came together to build some of that. I believe that's part of the undersea cable. It goes up into part of Canada and then kind of goes back and forth over there a little bit and then goes out Alaska and crosses that land bridge into Russia. And then there's 7 internet cables. One of them's here on the Pacific coast of California. Another one's down by San Diego. Another one's down on the Pacific coast of Mexico. And anyhow, those are the connecting cables for the internet ley lines. When those were commissioned, the U.S. government made a series of guidelines and regulations as to how structures on the internet works, how oversight works, how the judicial principles of the United States can function to this new domain. The new frontier of digital technology and the crazy madness of human diversity connected globally by, I think, a latency from... I'm from the California coast, getting to... I believe it's China. I believe it's somewhere in China is the exact other part of the world. It's 3.8 seconds. That's how fast an email travels. And then there's buffers for, like, if you're doing like facial video calls and such like that, there's buffers going on for stuff like that. I lost my train of thought. I have a little bit of ADHD. If you're still here, thank you very much for sticking along with this. I'm glad you're interested in this topic. Take a moment, stretch. All right. So, financial structures here in the United States are very, very complicated, and the IRS is an absolute fucking bitch. Most of the regulatory principles of how the internet was created by the federal government in the United States no longer matter. There are regulatory decisions made by state agencies and state governments being inspired by the declarations of our federal government to create more bureaus, investigatory agencies, and structures to just see how the internet's growing and make adjustments and create laws as they go. However, the banking infrastructure of the United States grew independently of the internet, and it's much more stalwartly independent in different structures. And they never... What's the wording here I'm looking for? I keep looking at all of my different devices and stuff, not actually looking at the camera. I don't want to creep you out by constantly having eye contact while discussing this with you. There was never structure created for how we make structural... Alright, so the regulation that makes loot crates a felony is a statement that a purchase online must be a one-to-one transaction. When you spend $1, you must get something of $1. When you spend $5, you must get something of $5. When you spend $20, you must get something of $20. Most websites and aspects of the internet are extremely picky on making sure they fit into the frameworks that independent banks have made, that they just fit into this by themselves. They sell goods specifically on how they wish to sell goods. If you're on Etsy or anything else, I talk with my hands. I'm just now realizing over the last couple months, I talk with my hands. A lot of online shops and structures fill this in fine. They do one-to-one sales and one-to-one structures. Why? I don't even remember what it was in my life that I researched all of this and ran into all of this as information. But when you go to a school in the United States and they do an open house, usually there's a bunch of Easter egg baskets with goodies and allotments, and there's kind of a school raffle that's held. They do that during open houses and a handful of other school events. Those are felonies. Those are against the fucking law. That kind of gambling is against the law. Beneficial barbecues, this, that, and the other. Raffle tickets, those little raffle tickets, you can buy giant fucking reels of them at the grocery stores. Those are all illegal. However, nobody thinks of using them unless they're for fundraisers. What's a fucking cop gonna do? Show up to a fucking school fundraiser and be like, yeah, this isn't something you can be doing because financial transaction guidelines and regulations by U.S. Congress, blah, 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 blah. No. So, that's one of the few things, like, there's some really fucking asinine laws in the United States, and I'm just like, I'm not, like, ashamed of my nation or anything like that, but my fucking nation is one to be laughed at from time to time. Like, there's one where, like, you can't be in a bathtub taking a shower with, like, a raccoon in the middle of a fucking tornado. I don't know what state it's in. There's literally a book of mundane, asinine American laws, and I completely advise you as a human being, if you are 15 fucking minutes, I didn't mean for this video to get that far. If you're this far into this video, go check out that book. Go see if you can find some of those laws on the internet. They're pretty amusing. So, yeah, there's certain aspects of how we do things here in the United States that are half-assed backwards. And one of them is also how we run our nonprofits, but that's a whole different opinion. So, I have another burp stuck in my diaphragm. Fair warning. So, continuing, looping all the way back around to the whole loot boxes or felony parts, there's certain structures here in the United States which is kind of odd. Taking it to court as, well, alright, so the gaming industry has always been, we as a team are within a building. This building is a bunch of offices. We're building a game. We have the program done. Here it is on discs, XYZ to put it into your computer, cartridge for your console, something, object at completion given to you for you to put in. Because of here's the hard part. I've actually thought about this a whole lot, and I've actually not realized about this co-association, how to co-associate this properly. Capitalism, just capitalism in fucking general. It's not anything else really at all. Capitalism turns certain aspects of financial gain on the internet really fucking blurred. Excuse my language. I'm trying to emote emotion. And how we do trade got a bit blurred, and gambling here in the United States took a life onto its own, with psychological, we have a massive mental health crisis here in the United States. That in itself is another opinion video that I will be making. Here in the continental United States, gambling as a whole has become more from... Okay, I'll explain this in reverse. Japan has developed an aspects of gacha culture. And gacha gambling is literally throw in a couple dollars. You might get something worth 99 cents. You might get something worth $5. You might get something worth $20. Very small variable, getting something worth $100, but you're putting in only $5 worth of value. In Japan, gambling is seen culturally as something is like, yeah, we're going out drinking with our buddies. Let's go over here and into a karaoke bar and this, that, and the other. All right, yeah. You know, everybody throws in 20, 30 bucks, has funds on the games for 30, 40 minutes, and then heads over to the karaoke. Everybody expects to lose their money because they're spending on entertainment. Nobody goes for a long period of time. In Japan, you go, you spend 50 bucks. It's, haha, we had a good time, awesome. You spend 100. It's, yeah, all right, sweet. That was a really good time. You spent $150, $200, and people are like, oh, all right. You spend $500. People are asking you if your life's going well. People become concerned. Here in America, you go out to eat, you spend $1,000 on champagne and XYZ party favors. Nobody bats a fucking eye. So when you go to Vegas, people expect you to blast $10,000 to $15,000. At least that's what's culturally the norm. Speaking of gambling addiction, I absolutely adore and love my stepfather. I live on the central coast of California, and we have the Chumash Casino. I most definitely have gotten to watch that building and its parking garage grow. And the joke is that my stepfather paid for half of it. Um, cell phones and some other really. See, this is the other thing that, like, I know exactly where this whole bill and all of these laws are going specifically because um, there's My Vegas slots and these online apps that are specifically from Vegas, and they give you points. And if you have these points, you can go and get free hotel stays, free performance venues. You can go and see theatrical acts and other things for free, and other things are comped. And then you have to spend money on machines and all these other aspects of entertainment, and you have to spend money on your own meals and all these other structures. And, Vegas still makes their money, but it's a bit less. But you get hooked to doing it, and you look forward to it because you're on your phones playing your little slot machines. My family members, I get to hear the app machines whenever I go over, stop by my mother's house. And most definitely they have 3 vacations to Vegas where they just have to spend the money in the gas in their car to bring everything that they want of leisure because they're bringing their own vehicle, and they have like 3 weeks worth of stays and everything else all booked up. And it's not unhealthy because they're not spending their own money. And then Prop 27 and Prop 27 comes along, and that's specifically the one that's online gambling. Prop 26 is for in-person sports betting at actual locations, but it still legalizes as well multivariable gambling. Allows in-person roulette, dice games, sports wagering, and tribal lands. Oh. Sorry, my mind was just saying my local casino doesn't have sports wagering, but I think it was actually one of their more recent expansions that's built into the hotel and not into the casino itself. So anyhow, getting back to the internet, gaming culture, video games are a massive aspect of relaxation for a lot of people, and I'm extremely concerned about this. There's not a damn thing I can do because I don't have an internet footprint. So I'm just casually making a video, making a statement, and making acknowledgement of we actually all saw this coming. And, there's no way to really stop this. Maybe a class action lawsuit with no one actually to benefit a financial gain. And, I don't know, all of the laws to be enacted and all the felonies to be charged, all be like financially rewarded to like St. Jude or the Ronald McDonald House Charities, something that directly helps individuals in aspects of need. And then, like, just get a bunch of people to sign on to it, I guess. Because, like, so loot boxes. Gacha culture in Japan is the aspect of variable gambling, and it's actually cool. It's pretty cool. I'm not against it because, well, this is another funny part. A lot of games already allow it to do so with the in-game currency. However, the United States actually did pass a financial regulation law back in 2013, 2014, acknowledging that there are financial predatory sellers. There are third-party organizations that will go into video games and they will do what is called bot mining. They will use programming algorithms to go to the different resource nodes and aspects of resource collection in a game, collect the resources, take the resources to the in-game trade auction house, sell the resources, collect a pool of gold on the character, and then allow people outside the game on the internet to spend in-world currency, real money, to buy in-game currency. Transact those two, and then the people who are mining currency now have cash in the real world and go back to mining more currency in the game to turn around and sell it. This has been happening since like the late 90s, early 2000s. So the federal government recognized that, passed a decree recognizing it. Because of that financial transaction, the law that I explained earlier of the one-to-one financial transaction in the United States basis actually applies also as another felony for the usage of in-game currency to purchase loot boxes. So a loot box is a form of gacha gambling, and gacha gambling is specifically from Japan because of how Japan's culture works. Japan's cultural gambling is, here's this, here's a variable, yay! American gambling was always, here's a variable, you know what the algorithm is, pull a reel, slot wheels move, cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. Vegas for the most part has been in charge of regulating that. They're the ones who pay for the financial movements. They're the ones who regulate and do lobbying to Congress. For the most part, it's been a group of people getting it to be the basis of, here's the variables you can see in front of you, ka-ching, 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 ka-ching. I'd say within the last 15 years is when Vegas actually noticed gacha gambling and that it existed in Japan. There's certain types of gambling in Japan that's straight up video games. You can get some video games for like the Nintendo Switch and a couple other things that are literally knockoffs of gambling machines in Japan. And they're video games using variable gambling because you're not paying to gamble, you're paying for the video game experience. So anyhow, some people here in the United States are just like, okay, well, we can capitalize off of this if we can get this legalized properly underneath the eyes of everybody else. So I've been caretaking for my grandmother for the last couple months and noticing the Prop 27 commercials, and I'm like, all right, well, obviously people are against that. And all of a sudden, Prop 26 commercials, and all of a sudden you could tell the financial difference between the different commercials for these two different props and how they kept getting more and more expensive and more expensive. And the main reason I decided to make this massive opinion piece, so I'm checking the timer over here, I'm getting to 26 minutes and I'm finally through with this opinion piece for the most part, is seeing a commercial for a homeless outreach program talking about everything that they do well and all this other stuff, micro house assistance and blah 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 blah. And I'm like, wow, as someone who was previously homeless in the past, I'm really proud that there's people doing this kind of activism, getting this stuff done. And all of a sudden it's like, don't forget to vote for Prop 27 because they'll do more financial regulations for this and yada 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 yada. Happy fun times. And then it's the very end of the commercials, and it directly says, paid for Lottery Bros, paid for, like you could just see the actual names of the companies from Vegas. And they're transnational companies that might have been bought by overseas investors from we don't even know where. And loot crates have been around for a bit, and we're noticing a mental health issue in the gaming community. What we're noticing is, so earlier I mentioned games used to be complete product, cartridge, CD, here it is to your game, console, XYZ, whatever. What we're now seeing, because we can have console and structural internet compatibility, is we're now seeing, here's a code for you to have access to this game that's on our servers. It's not yours. Once you stop paying the subscription, you don't get any of this anymore. We're also seeing, pay for this, and you can have access to all of these other expansions for more paying for services. And you can pay a fee to unlock these downloads. And these downloads are permanently on your console or system. That I'm fine with. We're also seeing pay for completed Season 1 of a new franchise. Pay for opportunity to win A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. X, Y, and Z, you can pay for them outright. Don't forget to check in 9 months when we have new skins and other things that are art renders that are only programming systems that took us 6 to 7 days of a programmer's time, and in the bigger scheme of things is only worth 99 to $1, $2 worth of direct product. But if you pay us $10, you might get that as well as a few other things, or you might get just that, or you might get that and this, that, and the other. And so what we're seeing is we're seeing an eschewment of financial law because no one addressed the original financial suggestion of the federal government of there should be a one-to-one valuation of trade on the internet as a whole, on the internet as a platform. And so because that's never been addressed specifically, we've seen banking and financial bureaus acknowledge how large the internet is and create 6 to 7 step authorization and other systems to be able to qualify and authorize and make sure everything is completely regulated for their safety and the regulations that have existed for other aspects of normal daily human life. Nothing has touched the one-to-one exchange ratio request by the federal government, the United States, and now there's an actual law of a state that allows variable basis of gambling, variable basis of accessibility. And what's really, really cool, and how amazingly this is all bankrolled as a whole. There's a lot of planning behind all of this. And this isn't even for loot crates. 100%, this is not even for loot crates. But you know, this is just something that the gaming industry as a whole is going to be able to just brush right underneath the rug. Loot crates are a coming mental health crisis. I guess that's what this video should actually be called. But it's more direct to just say they were all felonies. And I'm really surprised of how some aspects of human history moves. But the one thing that's really, really impressive is the fact that there's 2 laws going into the state of California. And a lot of people are under the impression that it's one or the other. One, they will both cancel each other out. They don't. They complement one another. And everything financially presented to us on media and advertisements and all over YouTube, at least if you're in California, is that they're head-to-head with one another. So I'm pretty impressed. But, yeah, so loot crates, loot boxes, and the aspects of the internet and financial regulations used to state that it has to be one-to-one financial purchases. And loot boxes are all felonies. Specifically because you're not purchasing a direct asset, you're purchasing a variable. I'll do a whole nother video about economics and certain aspects of the coming economic collapses and how cryptocurrencies are very interesting in their 1/8 of a very, very large structural answer to try to fix a large economic bubble we globally are facing. But here's this answer to some people who asked, are loot boxes felonies? Yes. Yes, they were. They were a structural variable of internet accessibility that was not a direct asset transaction. I believe you can actually... I don't think you could argue that specifically to a judge. And the whole thing is aspects of what you can purchase on the internet in the eyes of American law are so askew in the first place. Somebody sold bathwater. You probably couldn't actually argue it in court. But on the language and the word of law, loot boxes were a felony. And I have ADHD. I hope you enjoyed some basis of this. I'm sure some people will have questions in the comments. Go for it. Drop the questions below on YouTube. I'm going to stick this video on a handful of different platforms because I'm networking currently. Yeah, it's kind of sad. I don't know. It's the internet. I've grown with it. I'm 32. 33. I'm a little disassociative this year because stuff that's not been going on and has been going on. It's really, really sad how what we're seeing on aspects of the internet and movements of the easiest word is globalism, but the actual word is transnational corporations, organizations, and superstructures realizing that there is no superstructure government that's actually regulating certain buying and selling of goods and things, because that's not what the UN was built for. That's not what what's the other one? The Financial Trade and Something Commissions for the Global Network of Humanity. It's not the G7. There's the G7, but it's the other summit. Fuck. Anyhow, transnational capitalism is turning into a structure where you can just create something to be the hook. And as long as you can create a new product that's a little bit of an amount of a product every financial quarter during a year, you'll satisfy most people. Most people understand that work takes time, and if you can feed their curiosity often enough, they'll keep looking for more. The newest movements of the Halo franchise is a perfect example of that. But that's a whole nother video for another aspects of my opinionated, blowharded self talking about things. So anyhow, thank you for listening. Thank you for spending a half hour of your time listening to me talk about things. Aspects of the economy is probably going to be one of my next topics. But loot boxes. Something me and my friends have talked about and how lame they are for probably about 4 or 5 years now, and off and on discussions, and we realized a couple years ago about the whole they are felonies, but what are we going to do about it? It's not something that matters. It's not something that you can argue properly in the court of law because of how language of law and basis is built. And I don't have the money for a lawyer of that caliber anyway. And then suddenly here's a solution to them. They're just going to be legalized with variable structure gambling by not even a gaming company. Financially rolled by Vegas. I have a suspect for what foreign nation is also bankrolling this, but I'm not going to talk about it. One of the more things I've learned about as an American over the last 6 to 7 years of just casually researching and learning, being bored in the middle of the night, going, let me Google that. Let me Google that. A lot of aspects of the world bought out aspects of my nation and then turned around and bought out aspects of every other country. And there's a weird spider web of financial intertwinedness around the entirety of the world. And it was proven by some economists back in, I want to say, probably the late 80s. And proven again probably 2010 or so, and financial movement of about, I think it was about $4 million was made, and using the financial systems from above and a supersect of the banking system, it was watched from above through the different national banks and everything else where that money went to. And there was one loop of $400 that went around the world twice before it dispersed into $100 increments, went halfway around the world, and then went to 10 and smaller increments digitally. And financially the whole world's intertwined, and as a whole, I'm kind of surprised that the whole one-to-one transaction structure of the last federal guideline for the creation of the internet is now finally being used and paved. And we're going to get variable gambling on the internet by American law. End stage capitalism. Most people like late stage capitalism. I'm end stage capitalism. Da 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 da. All right, thank you for watching. Thanks for hanging out, seeing my opinion. If you actually made it to the last of this video, I would love to be a part of your viewing algorithm. I know you're not going to actually watch me on a regular basis, but I'd love to be a part of your viewing algorithm. You have a great day. I guess long live loot boxes. I guess they're here to stay. Yeah, that's that. You have a great day. Thanks for watching. Toodles. Love you, buddy.